No, this isn't the second half of the videos that I looked at previously. The reason for that being that, first of all, there were a number of comments where people basically said they couldn't stand to watch it all the way through. Mostly it was because they got the same feeling as me about the girl that I was looking at, that she was being a bit of a pretentious twat. Although there was one who turned around and said that I was being far too precious about criticism of Australia. And while I do value people's opinions on that, I do believe that in this instance it was perhaps a little bit justified, because she was being a pretentious twat and she was really being quite vicious in her criticism of Australia. There was nothing intelligent in it, it was just her trying to find ways to say that Britain was better than Australia in every way. But anyway, enough about that video. I decided that if I do the second half of that video, I needed a break. I haven't entirely decided yet whether to bother with the second half of that video, because it certainly fried my brain as well. So I wanted to move on and look at something a little bit more lighthearted. And what could be more lighthearted than a comedian doing a video on her experiences in Australia? So I believe that she is working as a radio host here in Australia, and I've watched several of her videos now, and I really, really enjoy them. So this particular video is actually only 4 weeks old, so it's a fairly new one. If you like what you see, jump across, give her a bit of love, subscribe to her channel, like her videos, all that sort of thing. This is the sort of person that we want in Australia. Like I said, I really enjoyed this video and I wanted to share it with you and share my reactions with you.
Here's the top 5 things you should not do in Australia. From Aussie spiders, beach disasters to Aussie slang, I've made all these mistakes so you don't have to. So to avoid a trip to the hospital or a hefty fine, make sure you don't do these 5 things and you'll have the best trip in Australia. Also at the end, I'll reveal the most dangerous thing Aussies do in Australia. The secret's gonna come out. Let's go.
Okay, calling a spade a spade. First up, that is a real English accent. And I must admit, it is really enjoyable to listen to. Now, for me, straight away, just the energy that she brings to this video immediately draws me in and makes me want to watch more.
First up and number 1 on our list, don't swim outside the flags. The beaches in Australia are some of the most beautiful in the world. Clear sands, sparkling blue water, it's very tempting to just jump in right away. But so many tourists swim in rips, thinking they're safe, only to find themselves in trouble. And Aussies are just built different. I mean, look at the rescuers down under. Aussie kids have been brought up to spot rips and know how to avoid them. And rips are really strong currents that can just take you out to sea. But to me, being the tourist, it just looks like a nice calm part of the ocean. But nope, I had to be rescued. And I could even hear my mates on the beach yell out, "Oi, who's gonna rescue the Brit?" Sorry.
I really love her humour. She's just, so self-effacing. Now, I have to say that maybe if you live in the Gold Coast or somewhere like that, you are taught to recognise rips. Or maybe if you are a member of a surf club as a child, you are taught to recognise rips. But the only education I had in terms of rips, etc., was those times as a child when you get caught up inside a massive wave and you're being tumbled over and over and you can't get back up to the surface. That's the education I had. So she shouldn't feel too bad, because trust me, it's not just Brits who are getting out there and getting themselves caught in rips or caught in waves that are just really dangerous. Not all of us are as educated as you would think.
And sometimes on the beach you'll see these cute little blue bubbles. Oh, aren't they nice? No, they're blue bottle jellyfish. And there's even a blue bottle jellyfish season. And these tiny little jellyfish can pack a very nasty sting. So listen to the lifeguards and swim between the flags and pay attention to any of these notices, because they put those flags there for a reason. They've done the hard work, so you don't have to. And I think you want to avoid these very painful hug buddies. And trust me, it's really embarrassing when a lifeguard has to yell at you through the megaphone.
Okay, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but having grown up in Tasmania, there weren't any flags for telling you where you should swim. And there certainly weren't any lifeguards, so we never had to worry about someone yelling at us with a megaphone. But, you know, let's be real too. You can try and swim between the flags, but if you're in the water long enough, you find yourself drifting along the beach. So, I guess for me, I think if I was at a beach with flags, even I would find myself accidentally going outside the flags, because it's not a learned thing for me. Because, like I said, I never grew up in a place where you had to watch for the flags. So I could imagine myself gradually getting dragged past, outside of the flags, and I'd be the one being yelled at by the megaphone.
Number 2, don't feed the wildlife. I know. Kangaroos and koalas and possum, they're all irresistibly cute.
Yeah, I'm that twat that has to point out these kind of things. But if you're going to put up images of Australian wildlife and you want to put up a picture of a possum, probably in the Google search, type in Australian possum. Because our possums are so much more pretty than American possums.
But feeding them can lead to them being sick and they're more reliant on humans. Plus, wildlife can be unpredictable. Feeding a kangaroo like this may seem like a fun idea, and you can do it in zoos and wildlife centres, but it's not going to be fun when it starts chasing you for more snacks. And do you really want to mess with this guy? Never skipped an arm day. My motto is, don't bother it and it won't bother you. Oh, and just an FYI, so you don't freak out like I did when I first saw this dinosaur-looking, dead-eyed bird, it's not actually dangerous. This is an ibis, but Aussies call it the bin chicken because it will just rummage around through bins. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just watch an episode of Bluey. They're basically harmless birds, like giant pigeons.
Okay, so I don't have little kids, so I've never actually seen an episode of Bluey. So I had no idea that there were bin chickens on Bluey. I have to say, ibis is such a more majestic name for it than calling it a bin chicken. And for me, coming from Tassie, I'd not heard that term until I heard it on YouTube videos. You do see them in Tasmania, not as often, and generally you do see them at the beaches. So I guess in that respect, they're not actually bin chickens in Tasmania because they are in their natural habitat. They're at the beach.
I just didn't know that when I first saw it. I mean, it looks like a pterodactyl. My advice is just enjoy the wildlife, but from a safe distance. And because we're talking about wildlife, of course we have to talk about spiders. I hate spiders.
So for those of you who, like me, are triggered just by the sight of a spider, I thought I'd go with a picture of her rather than one of the spider images. But my question is this: is there such a thing as a Brit who can handle spiders? Because I'm guessing that spiders in the UK are pretty tiny and pretty harmless. And every Brit that I've ever met has had a major fear of spiders, of Aussie spiders, and a major reaction to Aussie spiders. I grew up with an aunt who was from Manchester, and she actually wrote off her car one time because a huntsman dropped down from the sun visor. I'm not saying that I might not do that the same. I could probably steel myself enough to pull over to the side of the road before I have a complete meltdown. But certainly it seems to be a thing that British people just haven't been raised to be quite as resilient around King Kong spiders as what Australians are.
So Australia is known for its variety of spiders, including some like the Sydney funnel web and the redback spider, which can be dangerous. However, most spiders, like this massive and yet not deadly huntsman spider, yet they're harmless and prefer to avoid humans. And one of the biggest questions I get from people back home in the UK is like, they will never come to Australia because 1, the flight's too long, and 2, spiders in general. Just to clarify, when you land in Australia, there isn't some kind of King Kong-sized spider waiting outside to get you. Australian spiders prefer dark, undisturbed environments, such as shed, garages, wood piles, etc. And indoors, they prefer areas like closets and attics and behind furniture.
Or, with huntsmen especially, on the ceiling directly above where you're sitting. Because it seems like Australian spiders just get a real kick out of making you feel really uncomfortable.
So here are my top tips when it comes to spiders if, like me, you're just not a fan. If you've been bitten, don't freak out. Stay calm and seek medical attention quickly as antivenoms are available. And most Aussie spiders just want to be left alone. So keep those screen doors shut and give your shoes and clothes a good shake before putting them on, because no one likes an uninvited 8-legged guest. And this is really important to know when it comes to the wildlife. Yes, spiders and snakes are scary and dangerous and what Australia is known for. But in your day-to-day life, what you should really be wary of are the magpies.
Yep, word is out. Seems like people from other countries are learning about our magpies. And sooner or later, the main comment from people as to why they can't come to Australia is not going to be everything's trying to kill you, but oh, we can't come to Australia because there's these giant birds called magpies that are going to kill you.
Don't mess with them. If you see this sign, magpie mating season, pay attention because this is serious. Because Aussie magpies are really aggressive during mating season. So these signs are put up to warn you that if you go near them, they will attack. Aussie magpie mating season can get really aggressive over here. And these birds are like flying ninjas. They will swoop down on you if they feel threatened. And you won't believe me, but when Aussies have to go past these areas, they actually wear things like this. Like helmets with the spikes on. They'll paint eyeballs on the back of helmets. Like, this is how some Aussies have to live.
Now, I think I may have mentioned this in another video previously, but when I lived in Tasmania, the biggest problem was plovers. During nesting season, you had to be really careful that you didn't go anywhere near a plover's nest because they would swoop at you and they could be pretty damn aggressive. So when I moved to Victoria, the first time I saw someone riding down the street on their bike with all these cable ties sticking out of their helmet, I had my sister in the car with me and I turned to her and I said, "What the heck is that all about?" I thought that this person must have been a little bit mentally disturbed. And then I got the explanation.
Because magpies are endangered, so people can't move the nest, so that is where their nests are. And if you live by one, mating season is not a great time for you. So wear a hat, carry an umbrella, hide in a dustbin, or just do what the sign says and walk slowly or avoid that area altogether.
That's brilliant. Hide in a dustbin. Okay, so I have visions now of people doing a bit of a Fred Flintstone thing and putting holes in the bottom of their wheelie bins and using wheelie bins to get down the street. I just find that so hilarious. And the thing that she showed before, I love that she doesn't over dramatise the whole magpie thing. and make it out like if you come to Australia, these birds are definitely going to attack you. Instead, she's done it from a intelligent perspective. And I like this chart that she's got, or this sign that she's got. And one of the things here, which is really important, it says walk your bicycle. And that's the thing. The reason these birds react so much to people on bicycles is because of the speed that they are going. Their speed is approaching that of a predator. Think about birds, they fly faster than we walk. And that's why they tell you not to run or walk your bicycle, because you seem like less of a threat to them.
Trust me, it's not worth the swoop of doom. And number 3 of things not to do in Australia, don't forget to declare everything at the airport. And if in doubt, leave it. Australia has a super strict biosecurity laws to protect its unique ecosystem. And if you're bringing in snacks or souvenirs or anything that's been near nature, you need to declare it, because getting caught with undeclared items can lead to hefty fines. I'm talking cha-ching. I mean, you can't even take fruit into South Australia from Victoria, the state next door. I mean, that's restrictions within Australia, let alone you trying to bring a snack over from somewhere else. Like at the South Australian border, there are bins that you have to put fruit in, because if they catch you, you will be heftily fined. I understand why, they've got to protect the biodiversity, but they're being serious. And in Queensland, they've even banned rabbits. I don't know how wild rabbits know that they're not allowed. Do they just hop up to the border like, oh, wait a minute, that was close. I nearly got a hefty fine there.
Okay, I know that Australian humour and British humour are very closely aligned. But that comment there, just seeing the absurdity of the situation, is so worthy of Australian humour. I can imagine, now I don't know what her radio station is that she works at. I'm not even sure what state that she works in. But I would imagine it would be quite an amusing radio show to listen to, because I love the humour that she's putting into these videos.
And number 4 on our list of things you should not do in Australia, and that is diss the coffee. Aussies take their coffee very, very seriously, because it is very, very good. So if you're used to that American style coffee where it's served in giant mugs and sometimes tastes like flavoured water, no offence, well, brace yourself, because Australian coffee is a whole different game. A flat white isn't just a fancy latte, it's practically magic bean juice. The flat white was even invented here in Australia. So if you're looking for your drip coffee, good luck finding it. Instead, it's all about the espresso-based drinks. So embrace the Aussie coffee culture while you're here and get ready for the magic. So if you want a proper Aussie coffee, there are so many small independent cafes around. And my pro tip is when the barista asks you if you want sugar in your coffee, it's because they want to add it while making the coffee, because it makes it so much smoother. And personally, I love cafes that use alternative milk, because that's just how I like my coffee milk. But Aussies, please feel free to let me know your secrets for spotting the best coffee spots in the comments below.
Magic bean juice. That's got to be the best description of Australian coffee I've ever heard. Now, in terms of spotting the best places to get Australian coffee, maybe I'm just a heathen. My experience has been that you learn where the good places are. You've got to figure it out, and then you just keep going back to the good places. But maybe someone who's listening has some suggestions that they can offer for me and anyone else who may follow my process of finding the good coffee. Now, I am going to also suggest that it is quite possible that she quite enjoys her magic bean juice, given how very energetic she seems.
I mean, it's your coffee, you will know. And finally, number 5 is don't whine. So the term whinging pom is there for a reason. I mean, I know we're good at it, but Aussies aren't a fan of the cliche, but they do love good banter. So while you're here, I wouldn't complain about the heat and how far everything is. I mean, you've flown a long way to get here. I wouldn't spend your time like complaining about it. Aussies won't take it well. So just enjoy yourself. And if Aussies make fun of you, it means that they like you. But I think that's why the Aussies like me, because I'm kind of like their pet now, because they keep on having to save me from the water.
Actually, I think the reason Australians like you is not about thinking that you're their pet that you have to rescue from the water, although that is a rather amusing concept, but because you're not a whinging pom, and because you really seem to understand Australia, and your humour fits in perfectly with the Australian sense of humour. So, 10 out of 10 for all these things. I have thoroughly enjoyed this video. There's still a little bit to go though, so don't go yet.
And as promised, here are my bonus tips. So here's your crash course in basic Aussie lingo. Yeah, nah means no. Nah, yeah means yes. Basically, whatever word is last is what it means. Nah, no, yeah, yeah. And you can use the word mate, but it has to be used wisely, and it's all about the context. Like, for example, you right, mate? Mate. Mate. You right, mate? Mate. See the difference?
There really are several different hidden meanings when you use the word mate with someone. And I think she's totally nailed that.
And never, ever call anyone chap. I don't make the rules, I just follow them.
I have heard people use champ before, but I think the thing there is that generally when you call someone champ, it's an adult talking to a youngish child. So I guess, when you talk about context, adults don't use it with other adults because it would be a little bit condescending. It also depends on what state she's in. So perhaps where she is in or where she's at, then perhaps it is just a no-go.
And for all the Aussies watching, feel free to comment below your favourite Aussie lingo because I'd love to know. And final bonus tip, and super important to do, is wear sunscreen and don't go out into the midday sun. Basically, you are not tougher than the sun, wear sunscreen. Yes, in the UK, I may have used olive oil once or twice to tan or lemon juice my hair to get it blonder. But over here, I can get burnt on a cloudy day, indoors. I just had my first skin check with the doctor and he asked me how many times in my life that my skin is peeled from being burnt. And I was like, probably once a year throughout my childhood and teens. And he was like, your skin shouldn't peel more than 3 times ever in your life.
I think that doctor was actually being kind of kind, because it's my understanding that your skin should never peel, that once is enough to do serious damage. Says me who, growing up in the 70s and 80s, did get sunburnt pretty much every year of my life, and can even remember one year as a itty bitty toddler when I was so badly sunburnt that I was covered in blisters. Thank heavens these days we are far more sun aware.
I made the doctor speechless and he needed a moment to collect himself, and he made me promise to wear sunscreen now and forever. Look, the Aussie sun is just different, so please be sun safe. You'll still get a tan and wear sunscreen. I mean, there's even a song over here, slip, slap, slop, sachet. Basically, wear your sunscreen, wear a hat, wear your sunnies, and wear your rashi. I know it's not the coolest, but it'll keep you safe.
Okay, that's clearly an updated version of the song, because for me, growing up, it was always slip, slop, slap. I find it interesting that we have it so well indoctrinated in our heads that for us, we know the song inside out, back to front, whereas she was kind of muffing around and not really getting the words in order and didn't naturally fall into the rhythm that I think an Australian would fall into if we were describing that song. That said, if you've heard the newer version with the thick shade slide on sunnies, simple as that, let me know, because that's news to me.
And finally, time for me to reveal the most dangerous secret in Australia. Because once you go there, there's no turning back. It's claimed so many Aussies for hours at a time because it's Kmart. The dangerous secret is Kmart. It's not the sea and the spiders and the snakes you got to worry about. It's Kmart, because basically it's a national treasure here. From homewares and clothes, it's got everything you need. And you will lose hours in that store. And in my opinion, it's kind of like a better version of Primark in the UK, or kind of on par with Target in America. But Kmart is dangerous. You don't go to Kmart and tell it what you need. Oh no. Kmart tells you what you need. You'll go in for socks and leave spending $350, and yet somehow still didn't buy the socks.
Yeah, word of advice for any unsuspecting Brits who may find themselves headed into Kmart. Make a beeline directly for whatever it is that you actually need, and get that first before you start wandering around and exploring Kmart. Because I noticed she said, it's probably on par with Target in America, and we've got Target here. But when I think about it, I think Kmart has so much more. And I know that it's very rare, unless I'm in a hurry and then I'm, straight in, get what I need straight out. But if I've got time, there's a good chance that I am going to come out of Kmart with more than what I actually went in to buy.
So there you have it, the top 5 things not to do in Australia, and my bonus tips, and the dangerous Kmart secret that every Aussie loves. Even though it's dangerous, I go nearly every week. So follow my tips and you'll be living like a true Aussie in no time. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe for more tips and laughs from your favorite, hopefully, British girl living in the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, and comment below your own Aussie do's and don'ts, because I would love to know. See you next time.
Normally I edit out the outros like that because they're kind of, not adding any new information. But I have to say, this is one of the most enjoyable videos that I've done a reaction to. And after seeing her first video, I went back to her channel and I watched several more of her videos. There is a part 2 of this top 5 things not to do in Australia. Her Kmart video is hilarious. I can't remember if it was a short, a YouTube short, or if it was just a video. But definitely go check out her channel if you enjoyed this video, because there's so much more really good content just like this. I may do another reaction at a later date, but in the meantime, definitely check out her channel. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks for listening. Please, if you're new, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, and please leave a comment below. What did you think of this particular YouTuber?